So easy to let this thing drive itself. I could definitely see myself accidentally driving myself to another city. I mean, if anybody makes a funny move in front of you, you just... and they are gone. What's up, everybody? My name is Elliott, but you can call me the Motory Notary. And today we're talking about this. This is the all-new 2024 Cadillac Lyriq, Cadillac's first foray into the all-electric segment, and it's quite the first foray. But this isn't just any Cadillac Lyriq review, because this Cadillac Lyriq is actually here to stay, because my dad bought it. So let me take you around the all-new Lyriq, show you some of the cool stuff it has, and then take it out on the road, or rather, it'll take us out on the road, because this thing will practically drive itself. Come on, let's take a look around. So this is our new Cadillac Lyriq, GM's first ever all-electric luxury SUV, and it's riding on GM's Ultium platform. Now that's the same modular platform they're using for all sorts of things, like the Blazer EV, the new Cadillac Optique, and many others will be essentially riding on this basic platform. But I don't care about those, I care about the Lyriq. And the Lyriq comes in a couple of different basic trim levels. One, the single motor version of this, which Tyler Hoover of Hoovy's Garage just bought, and it's rated about 340 horsepower. And then there's this, the big bad dual motor version, which has 500 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. And that's a lot for an SUV that's not very big. But even with all that power, this thing still gets 300 miles of range, which is really, really good for an electric car. But more importantly than the specs is that my dad bought this, and it was a really special experience because he hasn't gotten himself a new car in like 12 years or something. And their local Cadillac dealer, Eddy's Cadillac here in Wichita, made it a really special experience. From the test drive to the delivery, it was just great. So if you're in the area, or heck, even if you're not, be sure to check out Eddy's Cadillac. But let me take you around this thing because there's a lot of cool little features about this car that you have to see up close before we get it out on the road. And it's got a lot of cool Easter eggs. So let me switch you into handheld mode and we'll take a look around the Lyriq. All right, so I'm starting off a ways from the car for a reason, because the Cadillac Lyriq experience, or Lyriq experience as I guess I should say, begins when you walk up to it. So obviously it's got a fob and it kind of senses when you're near it, and it does this cool little light show. Check this out. So as you approach the car, okay, lights, and then the Cadillac symbol starts to glow, and then one by one things start to light up. Now the grill is lit, now those little thingies, and then these little cubes drop in, and then boom, it's all on. I know that that's kind of gimmicky, but trust me, it's cool every single time, especially at night. And then you can also see there's a little illuminated Cadillac logo on the giant screen, which I will be showing you here in a second. But walking around the outside of the Lyriq, as you can tell, because it lit up, there is no grill, but it does a great job of simulating a grill with the lights, because obviously this is more aerodynamic than having an opening, which you don't need for an electric car. Another thing that happens when you approach the car is the way the door handles greet you, I would say. Check this out. So you approach it, I'm gonna unlock it. Right now, they're flush with the paint, but oh, see, they popped out. It's kind of cool. They open and they just kind of have a little happy to see you moment there, and then you just pull it and get on in. Now, interestingly, there's two different door options on the Lyriq. Like Tyler's, these don't pop out. You press it and the door pops open. Now on the 24, the handles greet you. I don't know, it's an interesting decision, but it is cool and I do like that. The other exterior thing I wanted to show you are these back lights, which I know, why are you talking about brake lights? Well, these are worth talking about because look at these things. First of all, they look very futuristic, but it's this light bar. But look what it does. It goes all the way up the side of the vehicle. I mean, I'm now looking at the side of the car, and this is still part of the brake light. It is ridiculous, and what it means is when you throw the turn signals on this thing, no one can miss that you're turning. Believe me, I've been behind this when the turn signals are on, and it's like 6 different parts of the car are blinking, but it is awesome. I don't know, there's something really cool about good exterior lighting, and that's how you make an electric vehicle special, and well, Cadillac nailed it. Moving on, the other thing that I've noticed when we were picking it up actually is the wheels. First of all, they're very, very cool looking, and they have these kind of aerodynamic things in here that help with wind resistance, but it also says reverse rim on here. And so I'm thinking, reverse rim, and so I go to the back, also says reverse rim. Apparently it's just the name of the style of wheel, but it is very confusing and almost seems like an instruction like, no, you're gonna wanna flip this one back around. So I don't know what that's about, but it is interesting. Also of note is the valve stem. Look, it's at a 90-degree angle, which is kind of interesting. And then back there, there's like another stem that's exactly in line on the inside of the wheel. Now, I think it's for some sort of sensor, but maybe that is what the reverse rim is. If anybody knows, leave me a comment below. Now, when it comes to most electric cars, they have a storage space in the front. Since there's no engine anymore, they just kind of make it a storage space and they call it a frunk. For some reason, not in the Cadillac. Kind of an odd choice. They decided to make it look like a traditional engine bay, except for, well, there's no engine to work on, and now you don't have storage either. You go under here, and then there's also nothing to see. It's just a plastic thing. Luckily, pretty easy to lift off. You just kind of go over here and go, boop, pop this right off, and there is the front electric motor along with some power inverters and stuff. Not exactly the prettiest thing to look at, but it is cool. I like seeing the inner workings of things. And if you're familiar with hybrid stuff, basically the orange means if you touch it, you'll die, and everything else is just regular electric stuff. So pretty cool. At least you have an ability to see it. And there's all sorts of little other access panels under here to get to things. So, you know, we saw there's a little fluid reservoir under there, and then under here there's a little fireman's hat, and you must think it's a special compartment just for firefighters. And technically, you're right. The idea is if this thing catches on fire or starts to run away, you can cut right here and it will shut off all electric power to this thing if something's shorting out or if it's having some sort of an emergency. Pretty interesting, and I think that firefighters are being trained in new electric vehicle safety stuff, and that's gonna be one of those things that's included. But anyway, that is under the hood of the Cadillac Lyriq. I now must reassemble it. Now for the next portion of our lyrical journey, we must again move around to the back and talk about more lighting, but it's not the cool brake lights which are still on. No, it's this little guy right here. You see the car projects a little Cadillac symbol onto the ground, and it's not just cool. It's not like one of those Range Rover things where you open the doors and it just says the logo of the car. That is actually to show you where the kick area is for the hands-free liftgate opening. So if you look where it is, and then you just kick, this thing opens right up. And of course, you know, standard tailgate speed there. Inside, great storage capacity, but let me show you one other way to open this thing. Now, that kick symbol is really cool if your hands are full, but what about if your hands aren't full and you don't want to reach for the fob? Well, there's another really cool way, and it has a very satisfying click to it. You see, it's this big Cadillac symbol right here, but it's also a button. So listen to this. And boom, it opens right up. And again, ample storage space, but under here is more storage space. Look at that. And you might be wondering, what's that little briefcase there? Well, it happens to be what I was going to show you guys next. So let me bring it to somewhere with more light. I've got an idea. How about we use that non-frunk as an area to set this baggie down on? There we go. And boom. See, it's even got the Cadillac logo there. But inside this case, if I can open it with one hand, is the method of charging. Because this is an electric car after all, this is the charger that comes with it. What they've given you is two different charging options, and you might be wondering, what do you mean? Well, they made it modular. So this is your standard, like, regular plug-in house outlet, and you plug it in to the end there, and you'd get about 1 to 2 miles of range. Or if you have like a spare dryer type outlet with 220, they have this adapter, and again, you plug it right in there, and you can get a lot more range more quickly with the same unit that the car comes with. Most of the electric car companies, they just go, hey, the one that plugs into your wall is 1 mile an hour charging, that's it. GM actually gives you the option for quicker charging right out of the gate, which is pretty cool. Good job, GM. And you might be wondering, with all that charging info, well, how do you charge this thing? Well, a lot of companies hide the charging thing where a traditional gas fuel cap would be, or at the front. Now, Cadillac has chosen the front, but I think they did it in a very classy way. There's a little panel right here, and to access it, you actually click the Cadillac logo. And once you do, it kind of shutters open, and there you have it. This thing lights up. There's your traditional plug, or you can remove this little cap for DC fast charging. And then when you're all done, to close it, there's an invisible black button right here. Now, speaking of charging, you might be wondering, well, Elliott, how does your dad feel about this? Well, I'll tell you what, he loves this thing so much that I gotta show you the other way to charge the Cadillac Lyriq. And well, I get to take you to a part of the building that we don't normally go to. So let's go. And just like that, here we are. In this part of the building, we have a couple of GMT 900s, my daughter's electric and manual bicycles, but more importantly, the other way to charge the Lyriq, and that's on this wall right here. This is GM's Ultium Level 2 charger, and my uncle wired it up to the building, and this is the faster way to charge the car. It even comes with this cool little like holster for the thing, but this thing puts out the real big power. With this, it puts out about 11.5 kilowatts of power, so this thing is charging at like 20 plus miles per hour, whereas with the plug-in one, you maybe only get 2. So this can charge it a lot quicker, and this is something that people would have maybe wired up to their garages, but we just had it wired up right here. Now, speaking of charging, when you're charging the Lyriq, it actually has this beautiful display on the dash, and it's got this cool little like progress bar. It shows you the rate it's charging, and you know, it's just a really cool graphic. But speaking of that screen, let's go back to the Lyriq. Let me show you some of the stuff on the inside because, well, the cool stuff just doesn't stop on the outside. Now, the outside of the Lyriq is pretty cool with all of its cool light features and fun ways you can have to charge it, but the real Lyriq experience begins when you climb into the cabin. And when you do, you are greeted with one of the best looking and simply well laid out interiors I have seen on any modern car by a large margin. I mean, every little thing just seems to make sense and be ergonomical. Even things that don't really make sense or don't need to, like the fact that this kind of armrest deal is a floating thing and you have a bunch of storage space below it because this is an electric car, so there's no transmission tunnel, so why not have some storage space there? And in that storage space, they've gone with a blue accent matte. No matter what color you get your Lyriq, you get blue accents on your interior. In fact, there's one on the seat and in the other cubby area, which you open up, which is very well laid out again, but it's blue on the inside. I don't know why they chose that. Maybe it has something to do with the electric thing because blue is, I don't know, blue is electric, but that's not the coolest part of this thing. The coolest part of this thing is the elephant in the room, and I'm saying that because of its size. The massive 33-inch infotainment screen, and that is 33 unbroken inches, I want to say. A lot of the other manufacturers have gone with just massive displays now, but there's always a break in between the screens where one screen ends and another one begins, but not in the Lyriq. It is 33 unbroken inches, and in this screen you can do everything, and it's super duper fast. You control your drive modes, even changing the gauges is done on the screen. It's over here. Every single part of it is interactive, and it's so well laid out, very quick. Obviously, the part of the car you'll be interacting with the most other than the steering wheel, so that's a good sign. But they haven't forgotten basic things. Not everything is controlled through the touchscreen. For example, some people love having a tactile volume knob. I'm one of those people, but Cadillac chose to make a scroll wheel right here in easy reaching distance. It's always good to have a physical volume knob as an option. But speaking of the radio, this car also has a 19 speaker sound system, which, if you're counting, is a lot of speakers. And in fact, 2 of them are located in each headrest. So you actually get like real surround sound. And yeah, guess that kind of makes it like a 90s Miata, just with a pinch better sound quality. But speaking of things that are also just good and laid out well and tactile, the climate controls are also physical. A lot of those are usually buried in infotainment systems nowadays, but not so in the Cadillac. And when you go to change them, you'll notice that the temperature is on its own little screen. It's so beautiful, fast, and just good looking. And while we're on the climate control subject, the last thing I want to point out in here is how you change the direction of the air. And I know that doesn't really matter to most people, but it's something you're going to be doing quite often. And you do it with these little joysticks. When you move them around, you also notice that it is controlling the most complex series of plastic vanes to direct the flow of air. And honestly, it's fascinating to just sit here and do this. When I first drove this thing, I was like, that is so fascinating. Something like that has no need being that fascinating, but it is on the Cadillac Lyriq. Now, I'll talk more about drive modes and everything else as we get this out on the road, so let's do that, where I can tell you how it drives, and we can talk about how important this car is, not only to Cadillac, but GM as a whole. Okay, driving the Cadillac Lyriq. Now, one thing immediately you'll notice if you've never driven an electric car before is the one-pedal driving. You kind of have to always have your foot on the brake, even when you're trying to decelerate, because if I just let off completely, I mean, it feels like I'm hitting the brakes big time. So it's kind of something to get used to. Now, of course, you can turn it on and off, but I like it on because, well, this is the way cars are going to drive in the future. There's gonna be more and more electric stuff. This is the new way. Kind of get used to it. And like I said, once you get used to it for a little while, you get in another car and you're like, I have to use the brake? This sucks. The next thing that immediately struck me about driving this car is just how quiet it is. And I know you might be thinking, well, duh, it's an electric car, there's no motor sound. But no, this is like Rolls-Royce quiet. And there's a couple of reasons for it. One is because it's an electric car, but a lot of times if you drive the cheaper electric cars, you'll notice you hear a lot of road noise because there's no engine sound to drown out that road noise. But there's nothing in this. I don't hear the tires roaring at all. And one of the reasons that is because Cadillac has fit this car with an active noise canceling system. So like noise canceling headphones, you know, like Bose units and stuff like that, it has that same technology in here. So it's actually got like mics on the outside of the car that are listening and then playing the opposite tone of that inside through the speakers to make it even quieter. Now that is luxury car stuff. And well, I think it's really, really neat. The ride quality is also something, you might say it rides like a Cadillac. No, but the reason I say it's surprising is because this car isn't fitted with like mag ride. You can't even get magnetic suspension on the Lyriq. And yet somehow they've adjusted the dampening to the point where this thing is seriously very, very smooth. Of course, all of that helps because the battery is really low and it's, you know, pretty dense. But either way, it just rides, well, like a Cadillac, which it should. Now that we're sitting at a stoplight, I can mess with my drive modes, and they have several here. I can choose Tour, Snow, Ice, or My mode, which is you can change the steering sensitivity and all this stuff to your liking. I, of course, put it in Sport because that gives you the crispest throttle response. Now that we're getting on the highway, I can do one of this thing's party tricks, and it's, well, it's just how fast it is. I mean, oh, it... I already exceeded the speed limit just doing that for a little bit of time. It is so fast. 500 horsepower still feels like a ton of power, even in something this big. And now that we've settled into the highway, I have pressed the Super Cruise button for my favorite feature of the Cadillac Lyriq, Super Cruise. Now, it's not the only car than GM's lineup to have Super Cruise, but it doesn't matter. It has it, and I absolutely love it. It only works on pre-mapped highways, but that means it works really, really well because it still has a whole host of sensors that it could do this anyway, but for safety reasons, it only does it on mapped highways. I'm on one of those mapped highways, and right now that means I don't have to touch the steering wheel. It's not like the Tesla system where every once in a while you have to, you know, yank it and remind it that you're still there. This will do everything for me. In fact, it's changing lanes for me. I don't even really want it to right now, but that's because the car in front of me wasn't going fast enough. So instead of just slowing down with adaptive cruise, it will go around them. It's amazing. It'll do it all on its own. This makes highway driving unbelievably stress-free. I mean, I could just let this thing go from here to Kansas City and I'd feel like I'm refreshed. Because like I said, again, I don't have to do anything. You just let it drive, which also makes doing videos like this a little easier because I have a lot of confidence in this car and, well, it's doing a great job. Look, we switched lanes again. It gives you a little warning saying, looking for a possible lane change, and then it does it. And if I don't want to be in this lane, I just move the stock over and it'll move right back over. This is cool. This is the future. I know some people have trouble trusting systems like this, but I've tried the self-driving systems in, well, a lot of different cars, and this, at least on the highway, is by far the best. And speaking of it being kind of futuristic, that's what I wanted to talk about. This car is very important for Cadillac. Not only is it a cool reach into the future for being an all-electric car, but it's the new design language that they're going to use going forward. We're looking at what the rest of the lineup will look like from here on out. They already have the Optique in the works, which is a slightly smaller version of this, still riding on the Ultium platform, but things even like the Escalade and any future cars are going to kind of start looking like this. If you remember what Lexus did when they kind of made that distinct grille and then it made its way to every single Lexus car. This and its technology is going to trickle its way to the entire Cadillac lineup, and thusly the GM lineup, because Chevy's got the Blazer EV and things like this in the works as well. And I think that makes it a very, very important car because this is the first one you can get. This is the public's opinion on it, because if the public doesn't receive this very well, well, they're not going to receive the rest of the lineup very well either. But, well, I can tell you from my experience and Tyler Hoover's experience, these are great, and I seriously can't say enough about them. In fact, I've been talking so long, I'd wanted to get off the highway earlier, and well, it's just so easy to let this thing drive itself. I could definitely see myself accidentally driving myself to another city. All right, now that we're getting off the highway though, I need to demonstrate exactly how fast this thing is. Okay, so I've tried to demonstrate that this thing is fast, but because it doesn't really make much noise, it's hard to really see it. But here is an example. I am driving right next to this car. We are both going 45, and watch how fast they disappear. I mean, nailing this thing when you're already going 40 just puts your eyes in the back of your head. It is absolutely amazing. Of course, I'm wasting range, but who cares? That's what you get the 500 horsepower version for. My goodness. In fact, I'm going to do it again. Another visual representation. Colorado here, going 35. And, well, let's just both say bye to him. I mean, it's unbelievable, the passing power that this thing has. I mean, if anybody makes a funny move in front of you, you just... and they are gone. In summary, it's smooth, quiet, has a ton of good features, practically drives itself, and is faster than all get out. This is kind of one of the ultimate all-around cars I've ever driven, and that's saying something. Now, I'm gonna take a rare page and say, let this thing drive me back to the studio. So that is the Cadillac Lyriq, a cool car, a futuristic car, and an important car, as it represents the future of Cadillac and pretty much GM as a whole's direction. We're looking at the future right here, but it's here now. And the cool thing about this one is it's in the family, so it's gonna stick around for quite a while. So be sure to stay tuned here for lots of updates, and if you guys wanna see what living with an electric car is like, I'll probably be making more videos with this thing. Also, I'm gonna be heading to Worldwide Auctioneer's Auburn auction at the end of this month, which is like a whole week of car extravaganza, so be ready for more content on the way. And the best way to find out when it's gonna be on its way is by following me at my various social medias flashing down below. Follow me on Facebook, join my Facebook group. It's a great place to share memes, and I'm almost always in there interacting in the comments. And follow my Instagram, because that's where I post little previews of upcoming videos and cool stuff that I'm doing. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think of the Cadillac Lyriq and what you'd like to see coming up next with this car. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all the other YouTube stuff. It greatly helps my performance, and I will see you guys on the next video. It's funny, when I'm filming these things, you don't want traffic because it's harder to shoot around. And in this case, for this demonstration, I actually very badly need a car to be next to me. Can't find one. It's ridiculous. It's very simple. I just need somebody to be cruising in the left lane, hogging it up like normal. And of course, everybody today is deciding to be in the right lane when I need to do a visual demonstration. Come on, guys, where's the normal Wichita bad driving? So this is our new Chevy.